I'm so glad that you can join us online for Ignite Online. Da da da! So amazing. You guys are witnessing history right here. I know, it's pretty spectacular. Anyways, I'm really glad that you guys are here and that you're watching. What we're gonna do is after this video, you will be able to go into your small group discussion times with your small group using an app called Zoom. Now, if you don't have the app, it's okay. I will be posting links to your small group leaders Zoom meeting. That'll be on Facebook, and I'll also send it through the text alerts. So if you don't have any way to get either of those, you need to let me know. You can either text me or email me at kristen@rbcva.org. All right, so let's jump right in. We've been on a series called Doubt It. We've been looking at doubt, and I think it's fantastic how it landed right in the middle of all of where we are. We're going through some major doubt right now. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going to happen. Some of you are already graduated. Congrats, by the way. I'm so proud of you. But no, there's just a lot of things that are going on and we just don't get it. I found a book that is perfect. So it's called Alexander and the, how do you say? Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. It's just a lot of bad things in that title. So I'm gonna read it. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. When I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink. While the water was running, I could tell this was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. In the carpool, I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. No one even cares. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of a sailboat better than my picture of an invisible castle. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I hope that you enjoyed that video because that was a lot of fun to make and edit. That was crazy. But on a serious note, I'm sure that some of you guys can relate to at least maybe one of those things that happened. Like your cereal. You don't get your favorite cereal, or you don't get that toy. It's very sad. I never got the toy at the bottom of the box. True story. Shed tears. Okay, we're going to be looking at a man called Job, who asked questions, who asked a lot of why God questions. So I thought this would be really cool, but before we even started to go there, I wanted to jump to Romans 8:28. Now, Romans 8:28 is such a really powerful verse, but I don't know if you noticed, the culture of the world, it twists it to make it seem that if you believe in Jesus, then all your problems are, gone. But that is not what this verse is saying, and that is not how it works. Just because we follow Jesus doesn't mean that we have no more hurt, or we have no more pain, or we don't have doubts. That's not what it means. So read with me Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. I love that verse. We're going to be looking at how God works for the good of things, and how sometimes we don't get our questions answered, and how that's okay. So we're going to be looking at a man named Job. Now, Job's life was pretty special. He had like an extended version of Alexander and the Terrible, No Good, Horrible. It was like massively worse. We're going to jump to Job. It's just go to the first chapter, and I'm going to go there too. So Job, he was a blameless guy in the sight of the Lord. He was blameless. He was righteous. He was an upstanding citizen. You'd be like, oh yeah, Job, yeah, he's awesome. That is who Job is, okay? Now, if you read in Scripture, Job 1 through 15, it tells us about the character of Job. Blameless, righteous, upstanding. And then we go to Job 1:6 through like 2:10. We see something happen to Job. And what happens is there's an accuser who stands before God and says, you know what, Job is only following you because you have blessed him with lots of children, lots of land. Like, no wonder he's following you because, he has all these blessings. So God said, you may go ahead and test Job, but do not kill him. So, guess what happened to Job? Oh, it's terrible. I know what you're thinking. Like, what? What? But just hold on. He got a message that his family, like his sons and daughters, were at a party, and in the barn that they were partying in, it collapsed, and so they all died. And then soon after that, he got another message saying that his livestock was bad, and they all died. And then later on, he gets boils like all over himself. He doesn't die, because remember, he's not allowed to kill him. But after everything he experienced, Job cried out to God and asked, why? Why is this happening? Why did my children die? Why did my land, my livestock, why am I going through all of this? I mean, that's understandable. Now, in Job 4, in chapter 4 now, we see Job's 3 friends. And you should look up his 3 friends' names and try to say them 3 times fast, because that would be very entertaining for me. On another note, his 3 friends, they tried to come and help him. They had some interesting advice. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad advice. Just to kind of wrap it up, they told Job that this is why that he's going through all of this stuff. So first they said, Job, this is your fault. What? They said bad things don't happen to innocent people, so you must have done something really bad. Yeah, and then they said, you know what, your kids died because they must have deserved it too. They must have done something extremely bad. Whoa. That is so offensive and hurtful. Like, can you imagine Job hearing that from his friends? They didn't stop there. Then they said, you know what, God has a plan. This is all going to work out. Now, that's not comforting or helpful when you're grieving the loss of your family, of your entire family, right? And then the last one is they said, be thankful. It could have been so much worse. Like, this is all that you're going through. Like, it could have been so bad. He lost his family, his livestock, his land. He's got boils. I mean, it's pretty terrible. But don't we hear things like this all the time? Maybe we even said it to someone else. These friends of Job, they go on lecturing him for a really long time. And when they're done, I love this, Job stops them. And he basically says, everything that you've said has been really hurtful, and rude, and offensive, and you're wrong. That's when he drops the mic. I just can picture this. Maybe my imagination goes away, but I can just picture Job being like, you know what, I've let you talk, and you're wrong. You are wrong. This is not why God is doing this. So, these friends of Job, you have to look up their names. He answers them. Job answers them, and he says, I have not sinned against God, but even if he had, nothing he's done would deserve the kind of suffering he's experiencing. Job cries out in pain. He's asking God to just end it all, end his suffering, because this is terrible. This is a nightmare for him. In Job 38, God responds. 38, chapter 38, God finally responds. God appears and he speaks to Job out of this great whirlwind. What do you think he's going to say? Well, I'll tell you this. It's not what Job was expecting him to say. So let me read. I've got Job here. Just picture him. I've got Job. He's asking, he's praying, all these terrible things. His friends are telling him it's his fault that these terrible things are happening. He prays to God. He's asking him why. He's asking him why. And God comes in this great whirlwind. Job wanted to know why so many terrible things had happened to him. God answered, but not in the way Job wanted or expected. Job asked why. And God said, I'm the creator of everything. Job asked, why? And God said, I'm bigger, greater, more powerful, and kinder than you could ever imagine. Job asked why. And God said, you are so small compared to me. Job didn't get the answer he was looking for. But he did get an encounter with the creator of the universe. If you're kind of like upset with how this story ends, I get it. At first I was kind of like, what? This is not an ending acceptable to my happy fairy tale life. I'm a big, happily ever after fan. In the movies, there's a great harrowing story, and then the hero wins and everything is happily ever after. This doesn't get that nice little pretty bow packaged up for us. But it does show us that when horrible things happen, sometimes God won't answer you in the way that you're expecting. I know it's hard to have faith. I mean, it's hard to have faith when you're experiencing something difficult or something you can't understand. That's okay. That's actually the point of Job's story. Just like we said a couple weeks ago, you're not alone in your questions. Job had a lot of questions for God. And then a couple weeks after that, we said God doesn't shame us for our questions. And you can look, God never condemned Job for asking why. Because God understands our pain. Now, in Job's story, we learn a third important thing about our questions and doubts. Our questions don't always get answered. Now, let's talk about this. As you guys talk about this in your small group discussion guides or your small group discussion time, just be sensitive and understanding to others, because sometimes it's very difficult to share what kind of hard things we're going through, but at the same time, don't feel like you're the only one going through something hard. No man is an island. Don't alienate yourself and make yourself camp out on this island by yourself because you think that you have to solve the problems. That's not how it goes. You have a team. You have friends around you who want to help you. So I hope that you guys will have that time to share. At the end of Job's story, God restores Job's life by giving him double of everything that he had. I know that doesn't take away all of the pain and the suffering that Job experienced, but let's return to that passage. Do you remember? Romans 8:28. The one people think that it means that everything's going to work out just fine. Let's read it together one more time. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. This verse doesn't mean our lives will eventually have happy endings. When we experience pain, heartache, the hard truth is that our questions don't always get answered. But God can redeem us, all right? He can redeem what we've suffered or lost. I'm gonna end it here. I want you guys to know that this is a scary time, and I know that we all have why God questions that are swarming through our minds. But sometimes you just need to rest in God. All right? Thank you guys for joining me. I will send out make sure that you guys get your text or you look for the links for your Zoom small group meeting. I'll see you guys shortly.